All right, so we're diving deep today into Hebrews 12:1.
And I think what's so cool about this verse
Yeah.
is that, everybody knows it.
Right.
We all,
It's one of those like
we all know.
super familiar verses.
Yeah.
But we're going to find some new stuff today.
I think that there's some really cool stuff that we can dig into.
Yeah, we've got like a whole stack of sermons here from different pastors
Going all over.
all across the country.
And like every kind of church you can imagine.
And we're trying to find like those little golden nuggets.
Yes. Like the stuff that's going to make your congregation go, oh, wow, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, like I've never heard it that way before.
Exactly.
That's what we're looking for today.
That's it.
So one of the things that we saw a lot of was this idea of spiritual decluttering.
Okay, yeah.
And Two Rivers Church had this really interesting analogy about a cluttered garage.
Yeah.
And we've all been there, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, my garage is a disaster.
Like boxes piled up to the ceiling. You can't even walk through it.
Yes. I think that's something that we can all relate to on a certain level, right? And so I think that's what Two Rivers is tapping into here is that sense of like being weighed down by stuff.
Okay.
And they're asking, what are we holding on to in our spiritual lives that's hindering our relationship with God? Is it sin?
Sure.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But it could also be, past hurts.
Oh, yeah.
Anxieties, just like
mental clutter.
Mental clutter that's keeping us from experiencing the fullness of God's grace.
Okay, so it's not just about cleaning up our act morally.
Right.
It's about like creating space.
Yeah, creating space.
For God to work in our lives.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, and what's really cool is that they actually go into the original Greek word for perseverance.
Oh, wow.
That's used in Hebrews 12.
Okay.
It's hupamon.
Hupamon?
Yeah, and it's not just about like passively enduring. It suggests this like active, gritty determination.
I like it.
To stick with something, even when it's tough. Think of like a marathon runner who's hit the wall, but keeps pushing through.
Yeah, totally.
That's hupamon.
So we're talking about decluttering not just as like a one-time event,
right?
But like a lifestyle.
It's a process. Yeah.
A constant process of like shedding what's weighing us down. And making space. For spiritual growth.
Yeah.
Love that.
And that kind of leads us into another theme that we saw pop up a lot.
Okay.
Which is focus.
Focus. Okay.
And Central Baptist Church in Dunn, North Carolina.
Okay.
They tackle this using Nehemiah's story.
Oh, interesting.
And now on the surface, you might not see the immediate connection between like rebuilding a wall and running the race of faith.
Yeah, those two don't seem to go together.
Right, but they weave it together beautifully.
Okay. I'm intrigued now. How do they do that?
So, Nehemiah was facing constant opposition, right?
Oh, yeah. People trying to sabotage him.
Yeah, all the time.
Trying to distract him from his mission.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the church is saying, like, we face our own set of enemies
in
the spiritual realm,
Like what kind of enemies?
Doubt, discouragement, distractions. The world throws a lot at us.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That can pull us off.
Of course.
Yeah, I see that. But, like, Nehemiah, we've got to have that laser focus.
Okay.
That unwavering commitment to the task that God has given us.
So are they saying we should just, like, ignore those distractions completely?
Not necessarily. It's more about recognizing them.
Okay.
Acknowledging their presence, but refusing to let them dictate our direction.
Okay, so it's not about pretending they're not there.
Right.
It's about, like, not letting them...
Not letting them control us.
Yeah, control us. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's about keeping our eyes fixed on the goal. On the finish line, knowing that God will equip us to overcome any obstacle.
He'll get us there.
He will.
If you just keep our eyes on the prize.
Exactly.
I like that, keeping our eyes on the goal. Now, that reminds me of Pastor Clarence E. Stowers Jr.'s sermon.
Okay.
He tackled this whole idea of transformation using this brilliant packing analogy.
Oh, yeah.
I love this one.
It's so good.
Especially as someone who travels a lot.
Me too.
You can't pack everything.
No, you can't for a trip.
You got to be selective.
You have to choose what's essential.
Yeah.
And so Stowers asks,
yeah,
what are we packing?
What are we bringing? For
this journey of faith?
Yeah.
And more importantly, what do we need to leave behind?
That's the question.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, because he's not just talking about, like, ditching bad habits.
Right.
He's talking about letting go of those emotional burdens that we tend to carry around.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Disappointment, regret, worry.
all that heavy stuff that weighs us down.
It's exhausting.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like we're trading in those clunky suitcases full of past baggage.
Oh, I love that image.
Yeah. For a sleek carry-on packed with only what we need to move forward.
Yes.
And that opens up space for new experiences, new growth, new possibilities in our faith journey.
Okay, so we've decluttered our garages.
Yes.
We've channeled our inner Nehemiah.
We have.
We've packed light for the journey ahead.
We're ready to go.
I'm loving this. Where do we go from here?
Well, Summit Church, I think, takes us to the marathon.
Okay.
With their dumbbell analogy.
Okay.
And this one is so visually powerful.
Oh, I can imagine.
It really sticks with you.
Okay.
So imagine running a marathon with dumbbells strapped to your ankles.
Oh, man.
Oh.
You can practically feel the extra effort.
You can.
The strain.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's how they portray the impact of sin and unhealthy habits in our lives.
Okay.
They weigh us down, slow us down, make the race so much harder.
It doesn't have to be that hard.
Than it needs to be.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
So shedding those dumbbells is about experiencing the freedom and lightness that Hebrews 12:1 promises.
It's not about gritting our teeth and pushing through.
Right.
It's about, like, making choices.
Yes, making choices.
That empower us to run the race well.
Absolutely.
This is resonating with me on, like, so many levels.
Yeah, I think it's powerful.
Okay, so we've got decluttering, focus, transformation.
We do.
What other powerful themes emerge from these sermons?
Oh, there's so much more to unpack.
Oh, let's keep going.
All right. Well, one of the things that was really interesting is that a lot of churches talked about the community aspect of faith.
Oh, okay.
And they went beyond just the traditional interpretation of the cloud of witnesses being these examples from the past.
Yeah, I'm glad they did, because I've always kind of struggled with that concept, to be honest.
Yeah.
It always felt kind of abstract to me. Like, okay, so a bunch of dead people are cheering me on.
Right.
How does that actually help me run this race?
Right. And that's where Trailside Church's sermon, I think, really resonated with me.
Right.
They presented the cloud of witnesses not just as spectators, but as a support system.
Okay.
Like a cheering section that's actually invested in our success.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so it's less about feeling judged, more about feeling encouraged.
Okay, so they're not just watching us. They're, like, rooting for us.
They are, yeah. They're on our team.
I love that.
Yeah, and they talked about how, you know, these witnesses understand the challenges we face because they've been there themselves.
Right, they've run the same race.
They run the same race, yeah.
They've stumbled over the same obstacles.
Exactly.
And yet they persevered.
And yet they persevered.
Their lives are a testament to the fact that we can too.
That we can too.
I love that perspective.
Yeah, it makes them feel much more relatable.
Uh-huh.
You know, and their story is much more empowering.
Totally. Okay, so they're not these, like, distant figures.
Right.
They're like people who've actually walked the path.
They get it.
And they get it. Yeah, okay, I like that.
Yeah. And Brewster Baptist Church took that community aspect even further.
Okay.
By connecting it to the image of a relay race.
Okay.
So it's not just that they're running alongside us.
Yeah.
They're actually passing the baton of faith down through the generations.
Oh, wow, that's so powerful.
Isn't it?
Yeah, so we're not just individual runners striving for our own personal best.
Right.
We're part of this larger story.
Yes.
This ongoing legacy of faith.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, knowing that we're part of something bigger than ourselves can give us that strength and motivation.
Yeah, like that extra push.
That extra push.
When we need it.
When we need it, yeah.
To keep going even when the going gets tough.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm getting fired up just thinking about it.
Me too.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier that some churches took some really creative approaches to Hebrews 12:1. What were some of the more surprising analogies you came across?
Well, prepare to be amazed because Overcome Church used a golf analogy.
Wait, golf?
Golf.
Seriously, how on earth do you connect golf to running the race of faith?
I know it seems like the complete opposite, but that's what makes it so brilliant.
Right, I'm listening.
So they focused on the mental aspect of both golf and faith.
Okay.
So in golf, you're not competing against other golfers.
Right.
You're competing against the course.
Oh, against yourself almost.
Against yourself, exactly.
Okay.
Against your own limitations.
So it's about that internal battle.
Yes.
The discipline to stay focused.
Yes.
And not get distracted by what others are doing.
Exactly.
Okay, I see that.
And just like a golf course is full of obstacles.
Right, sand traps.
Sand traps, water hazards, trees.
Trees, yeah.
Life throws its fair share of challenges our way.
Oh, for sure.
But the key is to not let those obstacles become our main focus.
Okay, so are they saying we should just ignore those obstacles completely?
Yep.
It's about recognizing them,
Okay.
acknowledging their presence,
Uh-huh.
but refusing to let them define us
Okay.
or derail us from our ultimate goal.
So just like a golfer aims for the green,
Yes.
we need to keep our eyes fixed on the finish line.
On the prize of our faith.
This analogy is making me rethink my whole approach to mini golf.
Right.
But I see the deeper connection here.
Yeah.
It's about maintaining that perspective, that eternal perspective,
That's it.
even when we're in the thick of it.
Exactly.
Like that.
And they even tie it back to the cloud of witnesses,
Okay.
saying that just like professional golfers,
Yeah.
learn from those who came before them.
Right. They study the greats.
They study the greats.
Yeah.
We can draw inspiration and wisdom from the saints who have already run this race.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's a solo sport,
Mm-hmm.
but with a rich legacy of shared wisdom and experience.
Exactly.
I love how they've woven those threads together.
It's a good one.
Okay, you mentioned even more surprising analogies. Oh, yeah.
Spill the tea.
All right, buckle up. Reach City Church in Cleveland took a completely different approach,
Okay.
talking about godliness as guardrails.
Wait, guardrails.
Guardrails.
I'm not sure I follow. How does that tie into Hebrews 12:1?
So it's definitely a unique take,
Okay.
but they connect it to this idea of removing hindrances by being proactive.
Okay.
So instead of just reacting to sin when it happens,
Uh-huh.
they're saying we should be intentional about setting up guardrails in our lives
Okay.
to help us avoid those pitfalls altogether.
So it's about establishing boundaries,
Yes.
making wise choices that protect us from those temptations
Exactly.
that we know can easily trip us up.
We all have them.
Oh, yeah, we all have them.
Yeah, so it's like building a fence at the top of a cliff
Right.
rather than waiting for someone to fall off.
And then trying to rescue
And
them.
then trying to rescue them, yeah.
That's a good visual.
And they even gave some like really practical examples.
Oh, okay, like what?
So like someone who struggles with overspending,
Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
instead of waiting till they're drowning in debt,
Mhm.
they set up guardrails, a budget,
Okay.
accountability partners, maybe even limiting their access to shopping apps.
Yeah, you got to cut off the temptation at the source.
You do.
Yeah.
So that's a really practical application, I think.
Oh, yeah. It takes that abstract concept of laying aside every weight
Right.
and gives us a tangible way to put it into practice.
Exactly.
It's not just about saying no to temptation in the moment.
Right.
It's about creating an environment
Creating an environment.
where it's easier to stay on the right path.
Exactly.
I love that.
It's about being proactive in our pursuit of holiness, you know?
Yeah.
Creating structures and systems that support our spiritual growth.
Okay, I'm loving this. We've gone from cluttered garages to golf courses to guardrails.
I know, it's amazing.
These pastors are really getting creative.
They are.
What other gems did you unearth in those sermons?
Well, one that struck me came from Peace Baptist Church. They took a more philosophical approach talking about faith as a dynamic journey,
Okay.
not just a static destination.
So it's like that old saying, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
But they're saying it's even more than that.
It's more than that, yeah.
It's not just about enduring.
Right.
It's about like actively engaging
Engaging in the journey.
in the journey. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and they really emphasize the importance of like living by faith every single day,
Okay.
making choices that reflect our trust in God, even when we don't see the immediate results.
So trusting the process,
Trusting the process.
knowing that God is working in our lives even when we don't feel it.
Even when we don't feel it.
That's hard sometimes.
It is. It is.
But it's so important.
It is.
And they connected this back to the cloud of witnesses too, right?
They did. Yeah.
Saying that we're part of this larger story of faith.
Absolutely. And they pointed out that, you know, those witnesses weren't perfect.
Right. They had their own struggles.
They had their own challenges, their own doubts.
Yeah, we're all human.
But they persevered.
But they persevered.
Yeah, and their stories encourage us to do the same.
It's like they're saying, hey, we've been there.
We get it.
It's not easy,
It's not.
but keep going. It's worth it.
Keep going. It's worth it.
Now, that's a message I can get behind.
Me too.
But, you know, sometimes it's easy to get so caught up in the individual race
Yeah.
that we forget about the people running alongside us.
Yeah, we're not alone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did any of the sermons touch on that communal aspect of faith?
they did. Yeah, several of them actually. Yeah, Harvest Alexandria had a really cool analogy about a bus journey.
Oh.
They were talking about how, like, just like on a bus, we're all headed towards the same destination.
Right.
but it's so easy to get distracted along the way.
Oh, I totally get that the billboards, the rest stops.
Yes.
That one person who keeps trying to chat you up when all you want to do is take a nap.
Exactly. All those little things that pull our attention away.
Yeah.
And they pointed out how those distractions can cause us to, like, drift off course. They even brought up those lane departure warning systems in cars.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know how they beep if you start veering out of your lane?
Yeah, like a wake-up call.
It is. It's a wake-up call. It jolts you back to attention.
Yeah.
And they connected that to our spiritual lives, saying that we need those wake-up calls too.
Like what kind of wake-up calls?
As reminders of our ultimate destination and the people we're journeying with.
So it's about staying focused on the eternal.
Yes.
Not getting sidetracked by the temporary. I'm sensing a theme here.
Definitely. And speaking of staying focused, Epic Church in San Francisco had a great point about identifying the specific obstacles that are hindering us personally.
Okay, because one person's dumbbell might be another person's, lucky charm?
Exactly. What trips me up might not even be on your radar.
Right.
So they emphasize the importance of being honest with ourselves about our own personal weights, and then proactively developing spiritual disciplines to help us overcome them.
So it's not just about ditching bad habits. It's about intentionally replacing them with good ones.
Exactly. It's about creating a life that supports our spiritual growth.
Uh-huh.
Surrounding ourselves with people and practices that help us stay on track.
And move forward.
Okay,
we've covered so much ground here. Decluttering, focus, transformation, community guardrails. I feel like I need to go back and listen to this whole deep dive again just to absorb it all.
It is a lot to unpack.
It is.
But hopefully it's given you some fresh ideas and new perspectives to share with your congregation.
Definitely. But before we wrap up, were there any final nuggets of wisdom from those sermons that really stood out to you?
You know, one thing that really resonated with me came from Community SBC.
Okay.
They reminded us to remember why we're running this race in the first place.
Oh, that's so important.
It is.
It's easy to get caught up in the rules.
Yeah.
The striving, the trying to be good enough.
Yeah.
And lose sight of the heart of the gospel.
And they emphasize that it's not about earning God's favor.
Right.
It's about responding to the love he's already shown us.
Oh, that's good.
And that love should motivate us to run the race with joy and gratitude.
That's such a beautiful reminder.
It is.
Okay. I think we've officially given our listeners a full sermon prep toolkit.
Yeah.
Maybe even overloaded them a bit.
Hopefully inspired, not overwhelmed.
Right.
But here's a final thought to ponder as you process all this.
Okay.
If Hebrews 12:1 is our spiritual decluttering project, what's the one thing you'd advise your congregation to toss out today to run the race more effectively?
Ooh, that's a good one. All right, listeners, we'll leave you with that challenge.
Go forth and declutter.
Focus, transform, and run your race with joy. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Hebrews 12:1.